Would the book have, just to shift gears, sorry.
Apparently good questions on all topics
today. You talk about how little actual material there was.
Mm-hmm.
But you have an academic training to build on and critique existing material. Would the book have been more fun, less fun, never happened, if there were lots of material about Mary Dowson?
You know, for me as a writer, sometimes it's rubbing up against just the right amount of fact. So when I learned that newly freed blacks, so there's a free black community in Virginia that goes back to before the Revolutionary War. But after Gabriel's Rebellion and Nat Turner's Rebellion in the early part of the 19th century in Virginia, they passed laws saying that any newly freed black person had to leave the state within a year or they would be re-enslaved. That was a fact that I had to work around and write around and figure out what that would mean in terms of Bette Van Loo deciding she's going to free her family's slaves. So it kind of builds this crisis for Mary and her family about what it means to be freed if you can't stay in the place that you are. And over again, there were things like that where there were facts that became like riddles I had to solve. What would this mean for Mary in her life? I mean, even something like the Jefferson and Verena Davis during this course of the Civil War, they had one child born, and they had another child die. And a child dying in a family is a terrible thing, and you don't want to gloss over that. And you don't, I mean, you know, Mary has to experience that as a horrific thing, but clearly not in the way that if this were a book about Verena Davis, would it be experienced as a horrific thing. So figuring out how do you represent that as part of Mary's story and stay true to Mary as a character, all of that is really interesting. So I think, again, enough freedom to get to imagine her life was really nice, and just the more facts I found. And there are some things that I depart from that are pretty big things, and because of the kind of what it takes to build a story that is compelling for readers. And so I feel the guilt of a historian around that sometimes, but I think I made the choice in favor of story because I wanted this to be a book that touches readers. I didn't